All right, let's get right into it. We all live our lives by the clock, right? But what if the clock we're all following is actually working against our brains? Today, we're going to explore this hidden battle raging between your workday and your biology.
You know the feeling? We've all been there. It's that moment in the afternoon when your focus just vanishes, and all you can think about is another coffee or maybe just a quick nap under your desk. It feels like a personal failure. But what if it's not you? What if it's the system itself that's broken?
And this, right here, gets to the absolute core of the problem. The traditional workday isn't just a little inefficient, it's actively fighting against the way our brains are wired. And in that fight, our brains are losing, leading to burnout, exhaustion, and work that's, well, just not our best. So to really get why this is happening, we've got to look back. Where did the 9 to 5 even come from? It wasn't designed for creative problem-solving or deep-focused work. Nope. It was created to get factory workers to show up at the same time. It's a relic, built for an age of machines, not for the kind of brain power we need today.
Okay, so if the 9 to 5 is the wrong model, what's the right one? The answer is literally hardwired into our biology. See, our energy isn't some flat line we can just drain from 9 to 5. It actually operates in these powerful, predictable cycles. And understanding these rhythms, that's the secret to unlocking your peak performance.
First up, you've got your circadian rhythm. Think of it as your body's 24-hour master clock. It's run by this tiny part of your brain, the SCN, and its job is to send out a powerful alertness signal all day long that fights off the natural pressure to sleep. When those two forces are working together just right, you hit your biological prime time.
But if you zoom in closer, you find another, even more critical pattern: ultradian rhythms. These are your 90-minute sprint and rest cycles that are happening all day long. Honestly, these are the real game changers that dictate your ability to do deep, meaningful work without completely burning out.
Now here's what's so fascinating. Each cycle breaks down like this. You get about 60 to 90 minutes of peak focus, where your brain is absolutely firing on all cylinders. But after that, you hit a trough. Your brain's key chemicals are depleted, your focus tanks, and mistakes start piling up. Trying to power through this dip doesn't make you more productive. It triggers what scientists call nervous exhaustion.
And check this out. This shows the different gears your brain shifts into. Deep, analytical work like coding, that requires beta waves. But your biggest creative ideas, they often spark in a more relaxed alpha or theta state. A rigid schedule tries to force your brain into one gear all day, which just sabotages your ability to do different kinds of thinking.
So, what happens when we just ignore all this incredible biology and force ourselves into a schedule that doesn't fit? We get something called social jet lag. It's this chronic mismatch between our internal body clock and the clock the world tells us to follow.
And this comparison of a 9 a.m. meeting is just a perfect example. We all have a natural chronotype. For a morning person, a lion, 9 a.m. is fantastic. They're at peak alertness, but for a night owl, a wolf, it's biologically still their night. They're fighting off sleep hormones, their body temperature's low. We're basically asking them to do complex work when their brain is still in recovery mode.
And this constant struggle leads to a very real decline in our performance called decision fatigue. Now, this isn't just about feeling a little tired. It's an actual neurobiological state where your brain, trying to save energy, literally starts taking shortcuts, making simpler and often worse choices.
And the consequences of this are serious. Studies have shown that doctors are actually less likely to prescribe the right treatments at the end of a long day. Accountants make more mistakes. Managers are more likely to approve bad projects. This isn't a small problem. It has huge, real-world costs.
Over the long term, this chronic misalignment completely fries our body's stress response system. It starts with that wired and tired feeling, moves into a constant cycle of afternoon slumps and caffeine fixes, and eventually ends in full-blown clinical burnout, with that deep fatigue and crippling brain fog.
But look, it doesn't have to be this way. Let's pivot from the problem to the solution. Because some really smart companies have already proven that working with our biology, not against it, isn't just possible, it's incredibly effective. A perfect example is something called the results-only work environment, or ROE. The whole philosophy was simple. Forget about being present, just focus on results. And as this finding shows, when you give people control over their time, they don't slack off. They start aligning their work with their natural energy peaks. They work smarter. And the results? They were absolutely stunning. Less work stress bleeding into home life,
People actually had better health habits, sleep improved, and employees were way more loyal. They didn't even work fewer hours. They just worked them at the right times for their brains.
And this isn't an old idea. More recently, the massive global trials of the 4-day workweek found that people reported a staggering 71% decrease in their levels of burnout. Just let that sink in. And at the very same time, the companies involved saw a 66% drop in sick days and unplanned absences. So people were healthier and more engaged when they actually were working.
But here's the real kicker, the number that proves this works. 92% of the companies that tried the 4-day workweek have made it permanent. This isn't some fantasy. It is a proven, sustainable, and successful model.
So, the big question is, how can you start using all this, even if your company isn't quite there yet? Well, this last section is your personal playbook to start aligning your daily schedule with your own biological energy. This matrix right here might just become your new best friend. It's simple. Match your highest stakes tasks, the deep strategic thinking, to your peak energy window. Use those natural troughs for easy stuff like emails. And, this is crucial, schedule real recovery. Not just scrolling on your phone, but genuine screen-free rest. And here's how you can start like today. For 1 week, just track your energy hourly to find your personal patterns. Week 2, start moving your hardest tasks into those peak times. By week 4, you're actively protecting that time. Maybe even talking to your team about setting up core hours for meetings, which frees up the rest of the day for deep work. So in the end, the question you have to ask is this: is the way you work designed for bureaucracy or for biology? Because the 9 to 5 isn't a law of nature, it's a choice. And the science is crystal clear. When we choose to design our work around our biology, everyone wins. We end up with a way of working that's more productive, more innovative, and just fundamentally more human.